Hello, and welcome to the Capital Gains Show. My name is Aaron. In this show, I defend capitalism and criticize socialism. Today's video is about democracy and free markets. Specifically, we're going to compare and contrast the two systems, and I hope to present a case explaining why free markets are superior to democracy. Now, when I talk about democracy, I'm not talking about democracy in the workplace. That's when you have a free market and every little individual competing company has self-contained democracy within it. That's a free market in a macro sense. I'm talking about democracy in a macro sense. I'm talking about economic planning. When people vote for things to happen, when they vote for things to be mandated or prohibited, when they vote for certain things to be manufactured or certain goods and services to be provided. So let's get right into it. First, I want to show you a couple of memes and some images, and then I'm going to explain the context behind them and explain the advantage that markets have over these democratic concepts here. First, democracy, two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. Now, democracy is an economic planning mechanism where the winner takes all. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how many different competing interests cast their ballot, what happens is the winner, the majority vote, wins everything. So if you've got, let's say you've got 100 people and they all vote for different things. Maybe there's 100 people and they're voting for 20 different possibilities. The one possibility that gets the most votes wins, and all other 19 possibilities are discarded or cast aside or denied or prohibited in some form or another. And everyone, 100% of the people, are forced to go with the most popular voted on possibility, even if only 51 out of those 100 people voted for the possibility. Or let's say you've got 20 possibilities among 100 people. So you could have a situation where 100 people vote on 20 possibilities, and the most popular possibility only gets like 8 votes, and every other possibility gets 4 or 5 votes. And then what happens? All 100 people have to obey and conform to that one most popular possibility, despite the fact that only 8 people out of 100 voted for it. So you see, it's a winner take all. It results in a lot of oppression. It results in a lot of forced compliance. A whole lot of mandates and prohibitions are what happens when you democratically plan an economy or democratically plan rules that govern a society. So just because you have a popular opinion doesn't make it moral. Now, let me show you something about that concept. Popular opinion doesn't make something moral, including if people vote to murder someone or vote to tax, aka steal something. Now, this illustration here shows it. Some guy says, "Why did you guys steal my bike?" And then the two people reply, "We didn't steal it. We formed a democracy. Seeing as how we are in the majority, we declare it law that we own your bike." So just because 2 or more people vote to compel something or steal something from another person doesn't make it moral, doesn't make it justifiable. It's still theft, it's still coercion, it's still oppression, it's still wrong morally. Now, here's a election map from the 2016 United States election. In most democracies, not all of them, but in most democratic systems, the most popular vote wins, even if the most popular vote is less popular than the non-vote. And what I mean is, let's say you got 100 people and only 49 of them cast a ballot and 51 people do not even cast a ballot. Typically, what usually happens in most democracies is that the 49 people that cast a ballot, they win and they get to oppress the other 51 people who didn't even cast a ballot. So if you boycott an election, you still get forced to obey and comply with the democratic mandate. You can see here in this image that I've got up on the screen, most people didn't even cast a ballot. And if the non-ballot casters were counted as a nobody vote, which is how it should be logically, then no one would have been president. It would not have been Donald Trump. It would not have been Hillary Clinton. The office would have remained empty. And that's how it should be, but that's not usually how it is. Next, I want to show you something. Democracy centralizes. Markets decentralize. Some people talk about decentralized democracy. You know what that is? That's a market, okay? If you have a real democratic planned economy, it has to be centralized, because you're going to have a plan that's mandated across the entire economy, and it comes from on high. It's a vertical hierarchy. It is a vertical monopoly. So this illustrates it well. On the left side of this image, you see the market. It says, make a choice. Enjoy your choice. Everyone gets to choose a different ice cream. Whatever ice cream you want. You can choose the mint, you can choose the chocolate chip, the rocky road, the blue raspberry, the vanilla, whatever. On the right, you see politics, right? AKA democracy. You vote for one. So 49% people voted for chocolate, 51% people voted for vanilla. Everyone has to eat vanilla, you see? So that's the centralization I'm talking about. 100% of the people have to conform to that single monopolized, mandatory, outcome. They don't get choice. The minority vote doesn't get a choice. They have to comply with what the majority wants. So what that means is that the minority is trampled on in democracy, whereas in a market, the minority is respected and the minority gets to have what they want. In a free market, if 99 people want to buy a Ford and only one person wants to buy a Toyota, well, then those 99 people get a Ford and the one person gets a Toyota. But in a democratically planned economy, all 100 people have to get the Ford. The minority will not be able to have the Toyota. Markets are also more efficient and timely in the distribution of goods and services. And what I mean by that is that in a free market, people, when they want to, go and consume something, a good or a service, they can go right at that moment to the store or to the website or on the phone or whatever and purchase that good or service, and they get it right then and there. Now, in a democracy, what happens is nobody gets shit until the vote happens. So you got to wait until everyone casts a ballot, then you got to count the ballots, and then the plan is finalized, and then all these resources and goods get released or distributed at once. So you're generally, what that means in practice is that the economic plan takes longer to distribute those goods and resources. Meanwhile, the free market, everyone's getting the goods and resources when they want them, right then and there. They just go out and grab it right at that time. They don't have to cast their ballot and wait for the result to be tallied and then wait for the distribution to, officially occur or whatever. What you've got basically is a situation where the market is going to outperform the democracy in terms of the amount of goods and services that are produced and distributed in a given amount of time. And there's another reason why markets tend to be more efficient, because in a market you have competition. In a democracy you do not. So in a democracy, people are gonna vote for this economic plan, and it says, okay, we're going to produce X amount of widgets using X amount of or Y amount of inputs over Z amount of time. Now they just make a dictate and then they try to fulfill it. Sometimes they hit those targets. Sometimes they do manage to produce the certain amount of widgets with the certain amount of inputs and within a certain amount of time frame. Sometimes they have a shortage and they don't produce the appropriate amount of widgets that they wanted to with the inputs. Sometimes they don't get enough inputs, or sometimes they take too long to produce them beyond what the economic plan says, because you can't mandate success just by a vote. You have to work real hard at it. So when you don't have competition, when you don't have when you don't have to work for your meal, aka when you don't have to persuade consumers, but instead you've got like this mandate and you've got this captive consumer base, which is what an economic plan has, then you're less likely to be as efficient as you can when it comes to the production of the widgets and time efficient and resource input efficient as possible. On the other hand, with a free market, you do have competition. You don't have a captive consumer base. You have to earn your customers, and you have to watch out for what the other guy is doing when he's producing the same kind of widget that you're producing, or he's providing the same type of good or service. You have to make sure that you're faster than them and more efficient than them, and that you have a lower price than them and a higher quality than them. So there's a lot of incentives that are absent in a democracy that the market benefits from these incentives improve efficiency, improve performance, and improve timeliness. And what you end up with is a much more satisfied customer base. And the better performing economy is the one that more efficiently and effectively and in a more timely manner satisfies consumer wants. That's how it works. That's what an economy is. The better economy is the one that just makes more people happy faster, okay? And that's what a free market does. That's what competition does. That's what consumer choice does. That's what letting the minority get the products and goods and services that they want does, as opposed to a mandate, as opposed to a winner-take-all system, as opposed to an economic plan and a bunch of prohibitions. You know what I mean? So if you want to provide the maximum amount of good and prosperity for the greatest amount of people, what you need to do is you need to embrace free markets, you need to embrace customer choice, you need to embrace competition, you need to embrace private property rights. You can have worker-owned co-ops, you can have democratically run companies, that's fine. Those things are happening, as long as those things are happening on a micro scale. On the macro scale, you want a free market. That's how you're gonna have the correct incentives, the superior incentives that are gonna force these businesses to produce better and more efficiently and have a closer eye on what the consumer wants. And they're going to make the consumers happier. When you call for the decommodification of goods and services, when you call for economic planning, when you call for more taxes, when you call for more government welfare programs and those kind of things, you are reducing the amount of market activity that's happening. You are reducing the amount of competition that is allowed. You are smothering customer choice. You are denying the minority consumers from getting the goods and services that they want. So what you need to do is embrace free markets. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about music, movies, drugs, food, housing, healthcare, automobiles, transportation, clothing, books. It doesn't matter what the good or service is. There's no exemption to these rules. They apply for every good. They apply for every service. They apply for property. They apply for tangible goods, widgets, whatever it is. These rules work the same all the time in every case. So no exemptions. No special pleading, no saying, oh, housing's different, oh, healthcare's different, we should exempt those industries from the market. No, when you do that, they suck. And when you let those things get provided in a competitive market, then they're better, then they're awesome. So that's why you need to embrace markets comprehensively across the entire economy, and that's how you're going to win. That's how you're going to win the race to post-scarcity, or get as close as possible to post-scarcity. This is why capitalism always beats socialism in the race to post-scarcity. Socialists talk all this shit about post-scarcity, and all they ever do is create shortages. Capitalists talk about making profits, and what do? They make things less scarce. That's less scarce relative to socialism. That's a fact of the matter. So that's why the market is superior to democracy when it comes to economic performance. Thanks for watching.